Hi, this is Bill Johnston. I'm with Kansas Corn, and I know that you guys have a lesson about calculating median and mean and so on. It's a very good math lesson, but I want to give you a practical application that we would use counting kernels on the farm. See, there are places in agriculture where median and mean are important, but out on the farm, we're going to use counting kernels in a different way. See, we're going to use counting kernels to calculate our yields. And yields are simply a way of measuring the amount of production from a field. In most cases, it's in bushels per acre. And so we're going to take that lesson on counting kernels and we're going to go ahead and apply that. See, we're going to use counting kernels to estimate corn yields. And there's some certain information that you need. One of the things that you need is, first of all, the number of rows in an ear of corn. If I break open this ear of corn and we look at the end of it, we'll need to count the number of rows. I've already done that in this case, and there are 16 rows on this ear of corn. In addition, we're going to have to count the number of kernels in each row, at least in a typical row. And I've counted a typical row on this ear of corn, and in this example, there are 40 of them. Also, I'm going to need to know the number of plants per acre. And in farming, farmers have gotten very specific about this. They can set their planters to plant a specific number of seeds per acre. And it can vary a lot, but in this example, the farmer planted 34,000 seeds, and he expects that 95% of those will germinate, which means they'll sprout and produce a live plant. At that rate, he's going to have 32,000 corn plants per acre. And finally, he needs to know, or she needs to know, the number of kernels per bushel. And that can vary a lot. But for this example, we're going to say that the farmer's, in this case, number of kernels per bushel is 90,000. So let's work through one of these problems. I've worked one out here for you. Let's go through a solution here. First of all, as I said, the number of rows are 16. And remember, I've already counted those. We take that times the number of kernels. And again, in each row, there are 40 kernels. We've taken the number of ears. Remember, I said the number of ears per acre, that is. In this case, it was 32,000. We're going to multiply that, and we're going to divide that by the number of kernels per bushel. In this case, it was 90,000. If you look down here, we take 16 times 40 times 32, divide that by 90, and in this case, we have a yield of 227.6 BPA, which stands for bushels per acre. Now, I want you to understand that this is a fairly inaccurate way of calculating because there are some big variables here. First of all, the number of rows, that one's fairly simple. There's no estimating here. You actually counted those. Also, that is true in number of kernels per row. You pick a typical row, you count those. Not a lot of guesswork in that at all. It's this area right here that's kind of a guess. So an experienced farmer may adjust this. You know, in this example, we used 95% germination, which gave us 32,000 plants. Well, the farmer may decide, you know what, when I planted this year, the conditions weren't optimum. So I'm only going to estimate an 85% germination rate. Or maybe they're going to say, you know what, the conditions were perfect. I'm going to up that to a 97% germination rate. So this number can vary a lot, and the farmer is going to have to make an educated guess. In addition, the number of kernels can vary a lot. You know, on a particular year, maybe it's a great year for the corn, and the kernels are especially big, so the farmer may say, you know what, instead of there being 90,000 kernels per bushel, I'm going to say that it's probably closer to 80,000. And so farmers, based on their experience, will adjust these numbers and probably over time become more and more accurate. Another way that they're going to increase their accuracy is they're going to take a number of samples per field. They're not going to just go out and take one in a large field and do the math and say, you know what, we're going to come up with this many bushels per acre. They're probably going to go to a number of different places in the field and take counts and average those counts to determine that. So today I'm going to provide you with some additional problems related to this, but I also want you to think about why a farmer would do that. Well, basically there are three reasons. One is a farmer just simply wants to know. You know, if we think about on any given day, you can go to a sports channel and you'll listen to sports broadcasters talking about predicting scores on games. And, you know, I always found that interesting because, you know, they're going to play that game. Predicting how it's going to turn out is just entertainment. But with farmers, it's not entertainment, it's their livelihood. They want to know what they might be yielding for a couple reasons along with that. Not only because they just want to know, you know, they're going to make financial decisions based on that. And so they're going to want to do some planning with those numbers, possibly do some budgeting. And so that's another reason. And then another possible reason is for insurance. And I don't want to get into all the details of insurance, but in some cases, the farmer won't actually harvest that crop. Maybe it's been damaged by hail or by wind, or maybe it was a drought year and there's hardly any crop out there. They're not going to harvest it, and they have insured it for a claim. So they'll need to know how much corn would have been there if they harvested it so they can make a claim. I do want you to know that the insurance company will actually go out there and do the calculations. In this case, they will not use the kernel count method. They'll use a different method, possibly 2 or 3 different methods that are that they could use that are actually more accurate but also more complicated than the kernel count method. So, as you do these problems over median and mean, I also want you to think about the farming application of this and know that these aren't just counting kernels to these farmers. These are calculating yields, and it's their livelihood. They're interested in estimating how much that corn is going to produce. So, enjoy this lesson. Learn a lot today. We'll talk to you later.